Hey everybody, it's Norm, back another episode of Behind the Garage Door. Today, Will and I are going to head over to Tampa, meet up with a friend of the Hurleys who has done incredibly well for himself in business, has one cool shop in Tampa, and we'll talk about another place that he has down in Bradenton. So let's head over to Tampa and meet up with Victor now. All right, so Victor is a businessman, and in business, time is money. Will and I, as usual, are late, so we're gonna take something fast. All right, so we made it over to Tampa to Induction Performance, and Victor, thank you so much for coming, for allowing us to come out and check out the shop and talk about all the cool things that you have going on. And first of all, you walk straight into the room, and the first thing you see is this bright red Supra with this beautiful 2JZ engine. Whose car is this?
So this one's actually my dad's car, and this is kind of the car that got me into this.
So how long has your dad owned this car?
So originally, I grew up in New York. My dad had this car's like twin when I was probably, since like 94 maybe.
Yeah.
And when we moved here, right before we moved, he sold it. And then shortly after, maybe a year or two after, we found this car. This is 12 years ago now. 15 years ago now. We found this car, and I was really attached to his car growing up. It was the car that got me into all of this. So we, over time, have just rebuilt it. And it's had a couple different revisions, but this is like the only car that's like very special to us, and we keep forever.
I know those cars. I know those cars. So it's a Supra.
Yep.
What year?
So it's an 89.
89 Supra.
But the engine and transmission are out of the newer Supra. It's like a 93 to 98 Mark IV Supra.
All
so
right.
2JZ, fully built, 3.4 liter stroker, so 76 millimeter turbo, standalone computer. Has a 6-speed transmission out of that car, and then has a custom rear end Ford 8.8.
What's it run?
We haven't run it at the track. This was really kind of just like the street car.
Scary street car?
Yeah, but it makes like 1,200 wheel horsepower now. Yeah, and it's got AC and all the works.
So, you have several cars of your own. One race car that I wanted to see, but
we'll do that again.
Okay, we'll do that again. Maybe we'll do that at your other business, which we will also talk about.
Yeah.
So your dad got you into cars.
Yeah.
That's how the whole thing started back in New York.
Yeah. So my dad and my uncle, they moved to the U.S. from the Dominican Republic in the late '80s.
Okay.
And bounced around, had a bunch of jobs, and at one point my dad was pumping gas at a gas station, and there was a service center, so he would pump gas and he would go and like help them in the interim.
Yeah.
And then he ended up, eventually him and my uncle took that shop over.
Oh, wow.
And then they opened their own shop, and then another, and then he got a Supra. We grew up working on Supras, got into that. And then when we moved here, I kind of took over that a little bit. And then I met Alpha, which is the tuner and my partner.
Okay.
And then we started Induction Performance in March of 2011.
You've been in business that long?
Yeah.
10 years.
Yeah, so it's 10 years this March, so yeah, it'll be 11.
So do you what is your specialty here at Induction Performance?
So when we first started, we would kind of just like do anything aftermarket, right? And we did well with that, and we were always very busy, but over the years, we kind of just have made it that our focus is just going to be a couple of things, right? Because like I would rather be great at what we do than just be a parts installer for every brand, right?
Right.
So we really specialize on the Toyota Supras, the 2JZ platform, the R35 GTR, so the newer GTRs. We do some of the older ones as well.
Right.
We do some late model stuff, some like Porsche stuff, Audis, Lamborghinis, McLaren, some like exotic stuff.
Okay.
We do some APR tuning for some of the late model like Euro cars. But our primary focus has pretty much always been 2JZ stuff.
Okay. Well, that makes sense because as soon as we walk through that door, Victor's garage door, I don't know that I've ever seen this many Supras in one place in my life. So we're going to go through this door and check out what they've got going on here at Induction Performance. Oh my.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. I mean, hold on a second. Supra. Skyline?
Yep.
Wow. All right. So this is a big shop. I mean, there's a bunch of cars in here that you guys are working on. There's a Lamborghini sitting here.
Yep.
Another Lamborghini. I just spotted another Supra.
Yep.
So tell me a little bit about what the guys are doing here right now in some of these cars.
So we get cars from all over the place, and like we get a lot of like little jobs. Like that one Supra will be in and out today. That's a 2022 Supra. We'll be doing like exhaust modifications and stuff on that. Simple bolt-ons, so that'll be in and out today. But a lot of our stuff that we get cars from all over the place. Like that Lamborghini's here for a twin turbo kit. We're doing a twin turbo kit provided by AMS Alpha Performance. We're an Alpha Performance dealer. With Motec standalone ECU, we built the transmission, so that's getting all that. That car comes from Pennsylvania.
And how much power will that put out when it's done?
About 1,200 horsepower.
Okay, all right.
And then like that white Supra we're doing, that came from Oklahoma. It was originally a non-turbo Supra with an automatic transmission. It'll leave here as a turbo Supra with a 6-speed manual transmission.
So people are calling you from all over the country to do
Yeah.
conversions.
Yeah. We get cars from all over. Like that one's from South Carolina, that one's from Miami, that one's from Tennessee, I want to say. The black one in the corner is from Chicago. We get them from all over. And again, we kind of like, the Supra thing is our niche.
Yeah.
So everything that we do outside of that is kind of like extra stuff, right? So
R8.
Yeah, exactly. So I want to say we've been in business now, it'll be 11 years in March. Probably like 5 years ago, the conversation turned to, what are we going to do when we stop seeing Supras, right? Because they stopped making Supras in '98.
Right.
And at that time, there was not even really talk of the newer Supras coming out.
Right.
So we started to branch out a little. We started doing Porsche stuff. We started doing the Lamborghinis and Audis and so on. But still, here we are several years later, and just...
You haven't ran out of Supras yet?
No, we have a waiting list of Supras. We have a full website just full of 2JZ stuff. We ship engines out. Like today, we build 2JZ engines and ship them all over. We're going to ship 4 of them today.
All right, Victor, we moved over into kind of the middle of the shop, and we're standing next to, I'm going to go ahead and say this is probably the fastest thing on the property.
Yeah, it is.
This is your shop race car. You have your own shop race car, your own work on it, your own parts on it, everything else on this car.
Yeah.
Tell us about this Supra.
All right, so actually, I don't want to take all the credit. So this car belongs to a client that's really just turned into family at this point.
I gotcha.
And we've done several cars for him. His company is the Shop South, and essentially, we've done several cars for him. He bought this car, and since then, it's kind of been our shop car, like race car. We do everything to it. We maintain it, and we use it for development and testing.
R&D
yeah,
car?
exactly. So.
Okay.
We do all of our own development, and all of our parts that we sell, for the most part, are all on this car. Like,
nice.
There's some custom things, but mostly everything on this car you can just go on our website and buy. Same as like Cooper's car.
Okay.
And yeah, it's a really cool car. It started life as just a
What year is it?
97 anniversary edition Supra.
Okay. It's a neat green. Is that the factory color?
Yes, this is a factory color,
Wow.
and the green has given it the nickname of Booger. And we have a lot of fun with it. We've done a lot of cool stuff with it. We've been doing no time like grudge racing for the last 2
So
years.
you don't want to say what it runs?
But this year we decided that we're going to get back to our roots and go to TX2K in March.
Okay.
And we're going to put the quarter-mile rear gear back in it and do some quarter-mile racing and show times. We've been really fast. Like in the 8th mile, we've been 440s, which would be, a high 6-second quarter-mile car.
So tell me a little bit more about this car. So it's a turbo car, obviously.
Yeah.
Good Lord, what is all this?
It's a lot of turbo and a lot of nitrous. So,
Oh my gosh.
So this is a custom direct port nitrous kit we did. So there's nitrous jet in each cylinder.
A nitrous jet in each cylinder, so it's
Yep.
like a port injection, I
Correct,
guess.
yep.
Okay.
And then there's an additional one here just in case those 6 aren't enough.
So is that what they call the scramble button or
Yeah,
whatever? Okay.
yeah. And then we have a 88 millimeter precision turbo, and then it has one of our 3.2 liter built engines. So it's a 3.2 stroker engine. This one uses a billet block. Just because they're stronger, you do start to see the cast blocks break at a certain level, probably like 1,800 to 2,500 horsepower. They get unreliable.
Okay, so you got a billet block in there because the regular ones break about 2,500 horsepower. So
Well, you can make 2,500 horsepower. It's just for how long, right?
Oh, okay, all
With
right,
this,
yep.
it'll live a lot longer.
Okay, okay,
so
that
it's an
makes sense.
aluminum rod engine. It's got a dry sump oiling system. It's got Motec, carbon dashboard, carbon seat,
carbon hood.
carbon everything. Custom wing, custom trunk. It's got an M&M transmission, so it's a 3-speed turbo 400 with a lockup converter. This one's got a Ford 9-inch, but again, nothing was cut. It's all factory unibody bolt-in stuff.
All right, Victor, one of the other questions that I had, because I know that you do older Supra, older Supra, older Supra, older Supra, older Supra. new Supra.
Yeah.
How different or more difficult or learning curve is it working on the new Supras as opposed to the older ones?
Well, it's a completely different platform and a completely different car. The new Supra is essentially a BMW, and it's built by BMW.
Okay.
So it was definitely a learning curve. The tuning is different. The engine is completely different. We're talking about a direct injection car versus a port injection car. Originally, the Supras, even though they're 6-cylinder, they just had a 2-port exhaust manifold. So 6 cylinders just going out into 2 ports. The 2021s and 22s are now 6-port. But there's not a lot of support for those cars yet, like what you see for the older Supras. So like, there's guys that are pushing them and going really fast, but it's not quite to this level. But if you think about it, I mean, these cars came out in '93, and we're still working on them, still developing stuff for them. So there's just a lot more support for them. And also, like, the BMW aftermarket, there's always been a BMW aftermarket. It's always been present, but it's always been very simple, mild bolt-ons, for the most part, street cars, where these cars, people build to 1,500 horsepower monsters like that.
Yeah.
I think eventually that platform will get there or get close to there. But I mean, it's a completely different car. There's nothing alike between the two, and it's unique.
So Victor, as I look around, I'm assuming, other than Booger, most of these cars are street cars.
Yes.
Okay, so you do a lot of work on street cars, but I glanced over and I saw this orange Supra up in the air with a cage in it, and I'm assuming that this is not a street car. Do you do race cars also?
We do, but it's kind of like a special projects thing.
Okay.
It's the same thing. This car is a very good friend, pretty much family at this point.
Yeah.
Before Booger, this car was kind of like our shop car. A good friend of ours originally built this car at a shop in New York, and when he passed away, the owner, a friend of ours, sent us the car, and we kind of just kept it, took care of it, raced it, and so on. We took it apart a couple years ago with plans of doing a really big build. That plan just got put on hold just because we just got so busy and the shop is blowing up so much. But this car will be going to Cameron Johnson Race Cars here very soon.
Nice.
And we're going to do similar to Booger, but we're going to cut this car up. We're going to cut the floors out of it. We're going to do like a not full chassis, but we're going to do like a good chassis on it with a 4.9-inch and 4-link and a real race car. Because even Booger, while it is a race car, I mean, you could easily drive Booger on the street if you really desired to.
Right.
The only thing that would make a big difference is we would probably put a cast block or even a billet block that has coolant going through the block. And then we could do a drag week with that car.
Oh, yeah.
So all the stuff we've ever done has kind of been based around that because that's what's relatable for our customers.
The next thing I want to talk about here real quick, Victor not only owns Induction Performance, you also own, I'll go ahead and call it one of the premier racetracks in the entire Southeast, Bradenton Motorsports Park.
Yes.
How did you get involved in that, and how did you acquire Bradenton?
Well, I kind of there's a little luck involved. So we've been building cars, and naturally we go to Bradenton a lot to test them. It's only a quarter-mile drag strip around here, and it's a great track.
Right.
So probably 2013, at that point we had made really good relationships with most of the people at the track, and I was pushing them to introduce me to the owner at that time because I wanted to do an event of my own. And that was the birth of FL2K, which is a very big event in the area. It's probably the biggest event in Florida and in the Southeast for like sport compact and street cars. So did my first event in 2013, became really good friends with the owner and everyone there, and got a lot of experience doing events and promoting events and all of that. And 2018, the opportunity presented itself to take over and to buy it. And it wasn't easy. I was 28 at the time, but I did what I had to do, and I made it happen, and it's one of the best things I've ever done.
It has to be, because like I said, that I have an old picture on my Instagram from, I don't even, it's been years ago. And I literally have a picture of the tower, and it says, the happiest place on earth.
It is still that. Yeah.
And it is. I love Bradenton Motor, and you've done great things with it. Victor, thank you so much for taking the time, showing us around Induction Performance.
No problem. Thank you guys for coming.
Absolutely. Talking about Bradenton Motorsports Park. We would love to come down for an event.
You'll have to check out my garage there next time.
You have a garage there?
I have a garage there, and there's some cool stuff there. So that'll be the next time we see each other.
Victor behind the garage door, part 2. That'd be very cool. Thanks for taking the time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Cool. What a cool shop Victor has. Induction Performance, right down the street from us here in Plant City over in Tampa. How many Supras were it? There was like 12, 15 Supras, all, street cars, 12, 1,500 horsepower. He can do it for you. A couple of Lamborghinis, an R8, race cars, all kinds of cool stuff that Victor has going on. And the owner of what I feel is the happiest place on earth, Bradenton Motorsports Park. We will be doing a follow-up with Victor once he gets a garage that he's actually building at the track. So stay tuned for that. He's almost done with it, so stay tuned for that, and we'll go down and check out where he's going to keep all of his race cars and his other cool cars as well. Make sure you follow us on all of our platforms below, and make sure you're back here next Thursday for another episode of Behind the Garage Door.
Stingray Chevrolet, relax, enjoy the difference.